What's good, everyone? This your main correspondent, Alan Taylor, and I'm back in the broadcast room yet again, always with another one. And yes, indeed, it is another one. So apparently, Tim Walz pulled up to Fox News and things like that. Shout out to him for doing so. Yeah. Of course, Kamala this is the first I've seen any one of them actually talk to the opposite side. So we're going to dive off into this. Tim Walz talked about a lot. He talked about Israel's situation. He also talked about the AB situation. So we're going to dive off into this, people. Quarters, nickels, and dimes.
Joining us now, Democratic Vice Presidential nominee, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Governor, great to have you with us on Fox News Sunday.
Great to be with you, Shannon. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I want to pick up where Alexis left off there in the Middle East, because you were asked in the debate the other night a question about whether or not you would support a preemptive strike by Israel on Iran. You didn't really get to an answer on that. So this administration continues to call for Israel to moderate its response after being attacked by Iran. Do you now think that Israel has a right to either strike oil facilities, nuclear facilities? What's your position on that?
Well, look, let's remember how this started, and we're approaching tomorrow a tragic anniversary. Hamas terrorists murdered over 1,200 innocent Israelis, 46 Americans, took hostages. We have been clear. Israel has the right to defend itself. We've always stood in that position. We need the hostages returned, and we need to bring an end to the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. But again, the point is it's Iran is at the heart of this, and their proxies that bring disruption throughout the region. That's why being in the Situation Room as Vice President was working with Israelis to repel the attack we saw this week. They tried it back in April, the same thing. And that's the point of being and boxing Iran in. President Trump tore up the nuclear deal that moved Iran closer to a nuclear weapon. He also allowed Iran to shoot down an American aircraft in international airspace with a tweet. And when Iranian missiles fell on U.S. troops, he called it a headache when it was traumatic brain injury. Just to be clear, we have always said we reserve the right to protect American troops, our allies in the region, and that there is consequences for Iran. So what you're seeing right now is the ability to work with our allies, the ability to make sure Iran does not further, and every administration has dealt with them for 45 years. Now it's to make sure, and there has never been a question, Israel has the right to defend itself, and we stand with them to do that. But we need to bring this to a conclusion.
Does that include a strike on Iran's nuclear or oil facilities?
Specific operations will be dealt with at the time, but being very clear on this.
Okay. Yo, stop it. Please answer the question, sir. Please answer the question. That's all we ask of either one of you and Kamala is to answer the question. What's going on with this situation with Israel and Iran? You know, these are wars that we are engaging in and things like that. And we're sending tremendous amounts of funds over there, tremendous amounts. But obviously, we don't have enough for the survivors of the hurricane out here. I mean, let's keep going.
Iran, there was consequences for what they do. That's what's happening right now. Israel's right to defend itself is not in question.
Okay, you said in a radio interview that anti-Israel protesters were speaking out, quote, for all the right reasons. You know that some of them are carrying Hamas flags. Some of them are calling for the extermination of the Jewish state. Do you want to clarify your praise for that?
Well, I'm certainly not talking about them. I'm talking about the people who understand that we have to end the humanitarian crisis, but they understand we need to return the hostages, bring peace to the region. Look, I will always defend people's rights to First Amendment, but that's not the folks I'm talking about. Those folks are not speaking for the entire group. So I think it's very clear on this. Israel's right, as we've stood with them. Anti-Semitism has no place in this country, and Vice President Harris has been clear about that. I've been clear about it. But the ability to bring a peaceful solution and understand Israel's right to defend itself, the return of the hostages, and Gazans' right to live in peace too is something that we're trying to get to. And that's going to take the leadership that we've seen out of Vice President Harris, being able to hold this coalition together. And again, when Iran launched their missiles this week, she's in the Situation Room. That's different. The people who are in the Situation Room with Donald Trump, like John Kelly as chief of staff, said he shouldn't be there. He's a damaged human being. His own defense secretary said he does not understand the situation, is incapable of dealing with it. So
and
it's about character.
Let's focus on what your position is and the vice president's position as well. I want to talk about abortion too, because this came up at the debate. It's been a winning argument for Democrats on many ballots, but I want to clarify what the law is there in Minnesota. Abortion Finder, a website that helps women find access, says abortion is legal throughout pregnancy in Minnesota. There is no ban or limit on abortion in Minnesota based on how far along in a pregnancy you are. You signed the bill that makes it legal through all 9 months. Is that a position you think Democrats should advocate for nationally?
Look, the vice president and I have been clear. The restoration of Roe versus Wade is what we're asking for.
But that
this
law
is a
goes
woman's
far beyond
right
Roe v. Wade
to make her own choice. The law is very clear. It does not change that. That was been debunked on every occasion.
But
wait, let's
agree. What you signed is there's not a single limit through 9 months of pregnancy. Roe had a trimester framework that did have limits through the pregnancy. The Minnesota law does not have that.
This puts the decision with the woman and her healthcare providers. The situation we have is when you don't have the ability of healthcare providers to provide that, that's where you end up with a situation like Amanda Zaworski in Texas, where they are afraid to do what's necessary. This doesn't change anything. It puts the decision back on to the woman, to the physicians. And we know that this is simply something to be brought up to be very clear. Donald Trump's asking for a nationwide abortion ban.
Wait, he has said that
Listen, look, he is not asking for a nationwide abortion ban. And we know these are facts out here. The man said clearly he's not trying to, ban it. But he's placing it back into the hands of the states. Each individual state should have the right to decide on certain things of what they want to decide on. Now, just like in Minnesota, he has the right to decide what the way he wants the A-B situation to go there. I don't see anything wrong with this at all. As a citizen of each state out there, you should have the right to vote for what you want to vote for that's going to affect your state, county, and legislation in your state. And things like that, and the people in your state. No, but Trump never did say he wanted a ban like that. Come on now, people.
He has said repeatedly that he will not sign a national abortion ban. Are you calling that it's a flat out lie?
Yes, of course. And
how is it a flat out lie when he clearly said he was not going to do it?
So what the French toast is going to think about?
Yeah, here we go with this. Now, of course, this is a serious matter here in America.
Senator Vance has in the past said so too. Now, look, they may see this as an election issue. We see it as a right of women to make their own bodily decisions. And that's what the states like my state have the ability to put that in. States like Georgia force women to cross the border, and then we have a death of Amber Thurman. So let's be very clear. Trying to cut hairs on an issue on this is not where the American public's at. They want the restoration of Roe versus Wade. Vice President Harris said she would sign it. That's what we'll do when we're elected.
But to be clear, the Minnesota law is far beyond Roe v. Wade. And about the Amber Thurman case in Georgia, her family has, and it's tragic, she is a young mother who left behind a young son. But what her family has said is it was a complication from an abortion pill that she received, and she didn't get proper care when she went to a Georgia hospital, which had multiple opportunities to intervene there. Her own attorney, the family's attorney, says it wasn't the Georgia law, it was the hospitals. What he claims is malpractice, not treating her when she clearly showed up in distress and still had the byproducts of her pregnancy because of that rare complication from the abortion pill. So just to be clear on the Georgia law and how her family and her attorney sees it.
Okay. And these are facts. I've definitely, read a couple of things and also seen a couple of reports on that situation with that young lady. And yes, it was due to the abortion pill that the complications came into place and stuff like that. And yes, even the family did say so as well. So they're trying to spin the plates. And the thing of this is yes, I get it why they're trying to do it, because it will, give them the illusion that it will help them fight for what they want to do. But these are not the facts. These are not the facts. The pill that she took, you know, it worked to a degree, but it also left behind matter. I'll put it that way, fecal matter and things like, not fecal, but it left behind, you know, extra stuff. I'll put it that way. I can't find a word for it right now, but yeah. And she needed to be cleaned out a little bit more, but due to the hospital, they, you know what I'm saying, didn't want to act right, basically. And that's on the hospital.
I think they also indicated that had she not go to North Carolina after the debate the other night, that she would have been in a better position. So look, these are the situations you're going to get into when you take this decision and put it in the hands of politicians like Donald Trump, rather than women and their doctors. We trust women, we trust doctors, and we know the outcomes of that are better.
Okay, let's clarify more changes that you signed in Minnesota as well. Several things were repealed with respect to reporting infants who may have survived an abortion attempt. Language that used to be part of the statute was taken out. We'll put this on the screen so people can see. It used to require medical personnel to, quote, preserve the life and health of the born alive infant. That language has been repealed. It's no longer part of the law. Also struck from the law was language about reporting infants that are born alive, what treatment they receive, and whether they live or die. Why was it important to you to get that protection out of the law?
Minnesota law aligns with every other case of what physicians are required by their ethical responsibilities. And so it changed nothing other than aligning with all care that physicians provide in any circumstance for any medical case. And so it's alignment as it's always been. It's the cases we've seen in Minnesota, the outcomes we get in our healthcare results are the best in the nation. And all it did was align with existing law.
But you do acknowledge it takes out the language about preserving the life of an infant who was born alive.
Every doctor has an ethical responsibility to provide what they can in each situation. That is the way the law is written now. It's the same for any person who shows up. And again, this is a distraction from the real issue here is women being forced into miscarriages, women being forced to go back home, get sepsis, potentially die, like we saw in cases in Texas. And maternal mortality rates in Texas have skyrocketed off the charts because of this. This is bad policy. Vice President and I have been very clear on this. We will restore the rights of Roe versus Wade. We will make sure women have their health care decisions. We will not put people's lives at risk because of the geography of where they live. And it will go back to the way it was before Donald Trump gleefully said, we've got the best of both worlds here. Things are wonderful. The states are handling it. It's a beautiful thing. It's not a beautiful thing to see women dying. It's not a beautiful thing to put doctors at risk of being imprisoned.
It is not. It is not to see any single woman suffer. And by the way, there's not a single state, no matter how pro-life or restrictive their laws are, that do not allow a doctor to intercede. That's true in Georgia and Texas as well. I want to turn to the economy. Our latest polling shows that 66% of Americans we talked to said that buying groceries is a, quote, major problem for them. And when we ask people about how they feel about the policies of this administration versus the previous, double the amount of people surveyed say that Biden-Harris policies have hurt them rather than help them and their families economically. That's in stark contrast to how they feel when asked about the Trump administration. So what would a Harris-Walz administration do different than a Biden-Harris administration when it comes to convincing people that the economy is going to get better for them because their perception is that it's not?
Well, we saw a blockbuster jobs report this week. We saw interest rates come down, and we've also seen that Vice President Harris laying out a middle-class agenda. Look, I was in Ohio yesterday, in Cleveland, in Cincinnati, and talking about this. Folks in Ohio know that Donald Trump's policies led to 180,000 manufacturing jobs leaving. They understand when he left office, we had more people unemployed percentage-wise than the Great Depression. What Vice President
Well, I mean, we had a whole damn pandemic right then when he was leaving office. And, you know, I guess that has nothing to do with it. You know, the pandemic where the whole world pretty much shut down. So pretty much the whole world was out of a job out here. I mean, I don't know. I guess so.
President Harris is talking about is making it more affordable to buy housing. And we've seen it in Minneapolis. When you have more housing stock, we've seen rates go down. We've seen more houses available. Also, the idea of price gouging. 37 states, Republican and Democratic states, have this. Corn is about $4.10 or so a bushel. That's where it's been for many years, up and down. But prices at the grocery stores have skyrocketed, corporate profits have skyrocketed, and people are paying more. So we talk about that. And then I think the fundamental difference here is Donald Trump kept his promise. He cut taxes for the wealthiest. She's talking about making sure things like a child tax credit, $6,000 child tax credit, put more money in people's pocket, making sure that we're able to buy those things, whether it's a crib or it's baby formula, get started. And she's simply asking that we can pay for it by asking those at the top to pay their fair share. This is a fundamental.
Now, my question with this tax credit situation is that how are you going to give a tax credit for children that don't exist?
And what the French toast is there to think about?
I mean, I'm just saying, I'm just asking. How are you going to give a tax credit for children that don't exist? Because if we're gonna push the AB thing, and we know that most AB is not being used in the most horrible conditions. I'm not saying that there aren't any horrible conditions that come up and things like that. Yes, there are, but it's not on the mass scale of the numbers that are actually, going on out here. And it's like, okay, do we want to have life, or don't we? Do we want to create more citizens and more people in our society, or don't we? And that's the thing that boggles my mind, because I know I just know it's not all these millions of women are just not having these issues with the most egregious crimes or health issues like that the numbers add up for AB. It's just not true. I mean, I get it, and I'm definitely for it if there's serious conditions and things like that, health conditions or egregious crimes, and I can understand certain things, but just for frivolous mistakes or you not being a responsible adult, we got a problem out here. No.
And what the French toast is there to think about?
No. I love my life, and I'm glad that I was actually born, and I'm pretty sure there's plenty of other you people out there that are glad that you were born as well. Regardless, yeah, we have ups and downs as human beings and stuff like that in society and things, but hopefully everybody out there glad that they was born. Yeah, but this is what's up, man. Hopefully this situation gets resolved and we can, really get focused on our economy, really get focused on what America needs to have going on here. We got a lot of treacherous things going on. These storms is happening. The economy is going down. Thank God the port workers have gone back to work, but Jesus Christ, man, we got a lot of huge issues over here in America, man. And hopefully we can get our shit together. But it is what it is, though, man. Hey, shout out to all my subscribers. Mad love to y'all. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Make sure you ring that bell to be notified whenever I decide to post things. And like I always say,
and that, my friends, is the bottom line.
That, my friends, is the bottom line.